So, okay, what did we discuss in the previous class? Anyone remembers? We are discussing from Nectar of Devotion. So, we have some new members from Point Cook Bhakti Vriksha program. So, please welcome them by chanting Hari Bol. And we have today Krishna Prabhu and Shamla Mataji from Mill Park who is here. Krishna Prabhu's birthday today. So, please. Krishna Prabhu ki Jai. We don't have full attendance, we are going to have thin attendance today because many of the members, how many families are not there today? 5 families are not there, so they are all roaming in Philippines because of the long weekend. Okay, so, but Madhavanand Prabhu, I know he will update himself on YouTube. So, not worried about it. Okay. Okay, where is Mataji? Where is Sachin Prabhu? Where is Mataji?
She's there.
Where?
In the other room. Or she'll join.
Oh, she's in the other room. People are there.
But today there is not transmission.
But the transmission is happening there or not?
Today there are some issues.
Okay, as long as they can keep the children quiet, they can be in this room.
Yes, okay. I'll let her.
Alright. So we are discussing from Nectar of Devotion, which is also called as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we already discussed Bhagavad Gita. Okay, over the last 2 years, we have completed till chapter 18. This is for the benefit of people who have joined today. So we are now doing a book called as Nectar of Devotion. Nectar of Devotion in Sanskrit is called as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This book was written by Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is one of the acharyas, like Madhvacharya is there, like the Rupa Goswami is one of the acharyas in our sampradaya. So, Srila Prabhupada, what he did was he took this book by Rupa Goswami and then he has translated that in English along with purports for all of us. Because mere Sanskrit verses won't mean anything for us. Even if Sanskrit verse were to be translated, still it wouldn't make any sense for us. Today, in the afternoon, I was addressing a program in a suburb called Merinda. South Morang. It's about South Morang, past Mill Park in Epping. So one gentleman at the end of the program was asking me, I don't know Sanskrit, can I understand? He got interested, quite interested. So after the class we had question and answer. So he said, can I, if I don't know Sanskrit, can I understand anything in spirituality? I said, very well. So is it available in English? No, it's like a, what do you call that as?
Piece of cake.
Not piece of cake. It's like गिरा दुकान के अंदर चले चलो क्या है? It's like that. तो बोले कहाँ था तू यहाँ? So I told him that boss book है प्रभुपाद का, Sanskrit भी है, translation भी है, purport भी है. So he was very happy. He said, wow, this is good. How do you think we can able to speak? We are able to speak. Sorry, because of translation and purports in English. Otherwise, he thought that I had studied some Sanskrit or something like that. I told him दूर दूर तक रिश्ता नहीं है. Right? So then I told this person, I only studied English, Hindi, Marathi and now Gujarati, trying to understand in many years. So, but for Prabhupada's mercy, this wouldn't be possible. Just imagine, people are there, out there. I saw an example of a person who is seeking spirituality, but he is afraid that, मुझे Sanskrit नहीं आता. And how easily Prabhupada, what vision he had? He translated everything in English and made it available. Even with translation, if Prabhupada would have simply translated, would we have understood anything? No. He has written purports after purports. Reading that, we are lazy. We are saying that we don't have time to read that. But reading Prabhupada's purports takes a lifetime. So one of these books is Nectar of Devotion. So Srila Prabhupada said that all my devotees, all my disciples should read 4 books. What are those books? Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Isopanishad and Nectar of Instruction. Okay, so we have finished this in the course. Now we have started this in the last of 3 classes. So let's quickly recap. Okay, let's do a fast recap. Because we have already done recap last week also. So how did we start? So Krishna Prabhu, you have been updating yourself on YouTube. You're in sync with the classes. Okay. So we started by. Forgot. Okay, let me give a hint. We started by glorifying the author. Who is the author of this book?
Rupa Goswami.
Okay. So why did Rupa Goswami write this book? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him to write the book. Okay. What other instructions Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami?
Build temples and
build temples and excavate places of pilgrimage. Today, when we go to Vrindavan, why do we think we are able to see so many temples? It's because of these acharyas, because they have built all these temples, the Goswamis, right? The other aspect was, why do you think Rupa Goswami is very special in our movement? We talked about that also.
Chaitanya Manobhishtam.
Because Rupa Goswami is Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparandikam. We always say this prayer before we give a class, right? You must have attended Bhagavatam class. In Bhagavatam class, this prayer is said. So, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam. So, that Rupa is Rupa Goswami. And so Rupa Goswami understands Manobhishtam. He understands the man of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He understands the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Lord Krishna in the form of his devotee. Okay. So Rupa Goswami understands the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu better than any other Acharya. So therefore, when he is writing Nectar of Devotion, it has special significance. So that is about the glorifying of the author. We saw that. Then we defined what is Bhakti. What is Bhakti? Many people define Bhakti as devotion, but Srila Prabhupada defined Bhakti as devotional service, because Bhakti is practical. It's not just some sentiment. Oh, I love Krishna, Bhagavan man mein hai and all that. There has to be some activity which is involved. So somebody has to do something. Just like at home also, if the husband says, I love my wife very much, then he has to do the utensils. Correct? Bartan kaun karega? Kali rose exchange karne se kya hota? Correct? When it comes to the practicalities of life, then there has to be sharing of responsibilities. So then that is where the love is seen. Otherwise it is just lip service. Right? Just saying something. So Bhakti towards Lord Krishna is also activity. There is physical activity, there is service that is involved. We saw that. So having defined Bhakti, then we defined what is Ras. Because this book is what? Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. So we defined Bhakti. Then we defined Ras. Ras means what?
Mellow.
Ras is mellow. Mellow means? Ras.
The activity that is done which gives pleasure and repeatedly you do it.
Correct. So an activity which when you do, it gives so much of pleasure that you want to do it again. That is called as Ras. The activity mein bahut ras hai. So I want to keep on doing that again and again. So that is called as Ras. So we contrasted mundane Ras with Bhakti Ras. The mundane Ras of this world. What do we get? What is the difference between mundane Ras and Bhakti Ras? Who is that peeping from this?
Mundane Ras is Bhog Tyag philosophy.
Huh? Why is peeping from there? There is a lot of space here. House keys are in the car. Okay. So we contrasted mundane Ras with Bhakti Ras. Okay. So what is the difference between mundane Ras and Bhakti Ras?
Bhog Tyag is the mundane Ras.
Bhog Tyag and Chapal Sukh. So we saw through those two concepts, right? Bhog Tyag means what? When a person works for 5 days a week, or for example, when a person goes to office non-stop for 10 months in a year, then he says, I need a break. You go to break to Los Angeles, for example, and you go to Santa Monica Beach. How long can you stay in Santa Monica Beach forever? And you say, maja aa raha hai, idhar hi rehta hai. You know, after some time you will get fed up of that beach. Just like Great Ocean, you drive for 10 minutes, it looks good. After some time, then you say, ocean kab khatam ho gaya. So it's like that. That is the happiness of this material world. You taste some happiness, but after that you get fed up of that happiness. Then you need something more, right? Or you need a change. So people, what they do, they work very hard, go for a vacation. Then they said, oh, great vacation we had, 5 weeks. Okay, now I want to quickly get back to my routine. Routine has got disturbed. So because they get bored of the vacation also, then they work. Then again, so bhog tyag, work, renounce work. So this is the happiness of this material world. It's flickering, it's relative. Also, happiness of this material world is Chapal Sukh. It comes and goes very fast. It's flickering happiness. It's not temporary. And happiness of this material world, the Ras in this material world is mixed with poison. Is mixed with vish or poison. In the program today in Merinda, or even, I think I've probably given this example before also. It's like sand mixed with sweet rice.
Sweet rice.
When you drink payasam, kheer, you put some sand in it and then you drink, you will get sweetness also, but in between you will also get sand particles. So that is the happiness of this material world. So we saw that. Whereas pure spiritual ras is not like that. Pure spiritual ras is devoid of misery. So the realm of absolute happiness where there is no concomitant misery with happiness. So that is called as pure bhakti ras. And that ras is never ending. Something which is never ending or immortal is associated with the word amrit. Because when you drink amrit, you become immortal. So bhakti rasa amrit. And sindhu, it's an ocean. It's not that it ends. It's not that abhi, you go to spiritual world, अरे क्या daily वही flute बजा रहे हैं, it doesn't work like that, correct? So it is never ending. Every time you see Krishna, every day I have to see Krishna or what? It's not like that. The ras which one derives by seeing the Lord is always increasing. Every time the gopis are seeing Krishna, the ras is increasing. Their love is eternally increasing. Not that it gets diminished or it becomes, cliched or dull. Not like that. Not like the relationships of this world. Okay. Or the rasa of this world. So we saw that. Also, the word amrita. Amrita means what? That which is immortal, which doesn't have an end. For example, the bank balance of this material world has got an end. So whatever bank balance you have, you can't carry 1 naya paisa to the next lifetime. Whereas, whatever devotional credits that we get in this lifetime are always carried forward to the next lifetime. Neha vikramana sushti pratvayana vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobhayat. Even a small amount of devotional service done in this lifetime is carried forward to the next lifetime and it saves us from the greatest danger. Okay? So, this principle is called as Shukriti. We saw all this. I am just recapping now. This is called as Shukriti. Shukriti means what? That balance which you get, which you have, the spiritual bank balance which you have. That Shukriti is carried forward to the next lifetime. So, in Bhakti, wherever you have left off in the earlier lifetime, we start from that point in time and continue. So we saw this in the first class. And then we also learned what does nectar of devotion teach us. It teaches us how to love. It teaches us how to love everyone. Not only how to love God and have problems with devotees. Correct? That is not loving God. You cannot love the parent and then have bad relationship with the child. For example, I cannot have a very poor relationship with Soumya and expect that Rajkumar will be very happy with me. Correct? Whereas, he may be happy if I have good relationship with his children as a father. Correct? Like for example, when I was in school, people used to fight, childhood. मैंने बोला क्या हो गया भाई? माँ को गाली दिया. तो बोला मुझे कुछ भी बोलता तो चलता था, माँ पे गया. It's almost like that. So just like a child can tolerate anything, that if you tell me bad words, it's okay, but never harm the person who I love. So similarly, Krishna is also like that. He says that, okay, even if you insult me, there is 99 times we tolerated for Shishupal, alright? But I will not tolerate even one offense towards my children, which includes not only human being but animals also. That is why meat eating. We have so much stress on meat eating, like that. So, this nectar of devotion will teach us how to love the Lord in bhakti ras. Because usually the way we approach the Lord is there are 4 ways in which we approach the Lord. You remember what are the 4 ways? No. Very good. What's the most common most? Common most is nobody approaches God. That is common most. But for those who approach, we approach God out of bhai, fear. And I gave example also. In Tamil we say Umachi, Kanna Kuddo. Kanna Kuddo means jaw, nahi to Bhagwan aankh ke andar he will put some spear. In childhood also, like that we stand, thinking that something bad will come to us if I don't. He is a person who is going to harm me. So usually we approach Lord out of fear. Even in movies you see, Bhagavan se dar, people say like that. So we saw all these examples. So please remember all these examples so you remember the core philosophy. You need to understand the flow of nectar of devotion, the way it's coming. That flow is very, very important to understand what's going on. So we approach Lord out of fear. We approach God out of asha, hope. Oh, one day something nice will happen to me. Oh Bhagavan, I know you will do something nice. Or hope. We approach out of hope. But at the end of the day, we want something. Or there are those people who say, I don't want anything from the Lord. I am just going to say thank you to Him. Because it is my duty. He is providing me so many things. So that is called as kartavya buddhi. So we approach out of bhaya, we approach out of asha, or we approach out of kartavya buddhi. These three ways we typically approach Lord. But rarely anyone approaches Lord out of love, which is called as prema. Okay, so this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is going to teach us how to approach the Lord with prema, with love. And we gave the example. What is the best example? Mother. The mother and the child. Mother is not afraid of the child. Oh, my child will kill me if I don't feed him. No, she doesn't feed him because of that. The mother doesn't think, oh, I have full hope that my child will become a big doctor and he'll keep me very nicely. Therefore I'll feed him. No, she doesn't do that. A mother doesn't think, it's my duty to feed my child. Okay, duty finished. Mother doesn't think like that. Even if the duty is over, again child is hungry, again the mother will run. Because that is called as love. Even before the child knows even before the child articulates what it wants, the mother knows what the child wants. This is called as love. Because the mother is constantly meditating on the child. So like that, when we meditate constantly on the Lord, proactively, then that is the stage called as prema. We know what He wants. Not that we are doing something and imposing on Him all the time. And calling it as Yukta Vairagya. Correct? I'll buy 15 houses and I'll say, I'll use Prabhu in Krishna consciousness, mein use karta hu. Not like that. Why buy 15 houses? Live simply. That is what he's saying. Not that we do whatever we want and then tell Him that Krishna Arpana. That is a very reactive way of worshipping Him. So understand His heart, understand His instructions. So this nectar of devotion will help us to love the Lord. Then we talk about analysis of the introduction. There is an introduction, we did analysis. Analysis, what's the first step in any book? Any spiritual book starts with what is called as Mangala Acharan. Mangala Acharan means what? Invoking auspiciousness. Okay. Mangala Acharan has got three aspects we saw. Vastu Nirdesh, Namaskar and Ashirvad. Vastu Nirdesh means what is the goal of this book? Why am I studying this book? Who is the object of this book? So we saw that the object of this book is Lord Krishna, and we saw several reasons. Two reasons were because Lord Krishna is, again this is a recap so I am going fast. Okay. If you have missed all this, you can hear from YouTube and again come to the next class. So Vastu Nirdesh has got two aspects. Lord Krishna is the Akhila Rasamrita Murti. He is the reservoir of all rasas. Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Whatever emotions that we see in this world, it comes originally from Lord Krishna. So He is the reservoir of every mood. Because He is the supreme, absolute, all-encompassing truth. Okay, so we saw that. And then, not only He is the supreme truth, but He also attracts the gopis, who are the highest devotees. So, that Lord Krishna is our Vastu Nirdesh. He is the objective of this book. He is the goal of this book. The second aspect of Mangalacharan is what is called as Namaskar. Namaskar means offering obeisances. Then we saw that how Rupa Goswami, it begins by his work by offering obeisances. So any spiritual activity or for that any activity if we want to undertake, if we always undertake that activity starting by worshipping Krishna and his devotees, then that activity will always be auspicious. Okay. For example, today in the program in Merenda, the program was organized nicely by Dinavatsal Prabhu. It was his initiative actually. So he did a wonderful job of coordinating with the lady. There was one lady, she is getting married. She doesn't have any father and mother. She's an orphan, right? And she is getting married to another gentleman. And this lady had a deep desire that I want to start my whole process of marriage. Tomorrow is the marriage, but she wanted to start the whole process by discussing, by doing kirtan and by by Krishna Katha. And after the class I was speaking with her. I told her that same verse which I quoted last time. What is that? Mantratas, Tantratas, Chidram. How apt it was in this situation. Mantratas, Tantratas, Chidram, Desha Kala Arha Vastutah. Sarvam Karoti Nischidram Anukirtanam Tava. Which means what? Mantra, the Pandit may not chant the mantra tomorrow properly. Because Australia may have, we are not going to get,
Even India they
we
don't.
may not, even in India they don't. I told you, once in one of the temples, somebody went and objected. The person was chanting, my marriage was going on, the person is chanting mantras for dead body. But किसी को पता नहीं है, अरे क्या chant करता है? वो मैयत का chanting है वो, right? So he is doing that, okay? And then when someone objected that I know Sanskrit, he is the bogus fellow. So, shh, don't disturb. Guest लोग आए हुए हैं, हमारा image का क्या होगा? So people are more bothered about all these things rather than the fact that क्या हो रहा है उधर. So therefore, there may be discrepancies in Kali Yuga. You will never find proper Brahmana, because you know Brahmanas what they do. They will have coffee, kapi in one hand, and then they will do yajna in another hand, right? Whereas for us, Prabhupada initially itself says stop tea, coffee, nahi. No tea, coffee, right? For us, we left it many years back, right? अभी तो चाय भी नहीं होती है, and we instead have replaced it with herbal tea and non-caffeine. But even these Brahmanas, they are not able to give up coffee. Like for example, we wanted to do some yajna when we go back. So there was some coordination that was happening, and then with the local temple, like that. This is a family function. So then the first thing was coffee se swagat hona chahiye sabka. That is how we do swagat in South India. Typically, especially when Tamil family, first that coffee will be steaming
coffee,
and then that small tumbler will be there. And that, whatever. So वैसे ही स्वागत भी होता है सब लोगों का. So that is not the way. So Prabhupada gave us these principles upfront. So mantratas, so these brahmanas may not be qualified who are chanting the mantras. Mantratas, tantratas, regulative processes may not be followed. Chidram means what? Discrepancy. So there may be discrepancy in how the brahmanas chant the mantras. हमको समझ में भी नहीं आएगा, right? Desha Kala Arha Vastutah. The place, okay, you may be in the midst of, some unholy place will be there, amidst which you are doing yajna. In Kali Yuga, every place is Ugra Karma. There may be a slaughterhouse next to where you are doing yajna, right? So it's a very inauspicious place. So Desha, Kal, the time may be by mistake, sometimes the Pandit doesn't arrive on time, and Rahu Kal mein yajna ho raha hai. Like that. So Kal bhi theek nahi hoga. And the person for which you are doing the yajna, that person also may not be, proper patra, recipient of that yajna. Many years back, we were invited, to someone. Dadaji mar gaye, aake, kirtan karo. So we were finding out Dadaji kaise the. Dadaji broke all the 4 regulative principles. So obviously, no, I can't tell them, no, idhar pahunche hue hain. Correct? So therefore, sir, are Dadaji, so Dadaji ke liye, what we did was, we did some yajna, somewhere at least wherever he is, the Yamadutas may let him off. Some hope he will have. Okay. So the patra, the recipient of this may not be a person who will be, for example, when we do Prabhupada Vyas Puja, you know that you are doing it for a very saintly personality. He's the founder Acharya of ISKCON. But always the patra also, recipient may not be qualified of whatever activities we do. Desha Kala Arha Vastutah. Vastu means what? Paraphernalia. वो बोला okay, cowdung लेके आना. Cowdung नहीं है. दुकान से वो, what is that? छोटा वाला substitute लेके आया. चलेगा क्या? दूध लेके आओ. दूध में पानी मिला हुआ है. So therefore the vastu, the paraphernalia may not be pure. Ghee is absolutely not pure here. Okay, it's all adulterated ghee you are putting in the yajna. So everything in Kali Yuga is what? Imperfect. But sarvam karoti nischidram. What? Everything becomes perfect. Anusankirtanam tava, where the holy names of the Lord are chanted. So this is very important principle. So therefore, I was explaining this principle to the Mataji. I said that look, you have started the whole process so auspiciously with Kirtan. So why will your marriage not be auspicious? It will be auspicious, certainly. So so Rupa Goswami, so why, I don't know why we were discussing this. Why did we branch out? I lost my train of thought.
Namaskar.
So why was this connected?
Invoking auspiciousness.
Invoking auspiciousness. So invoking auspiciousness, so wherever the Lord's holy names are chanted, then auspiciousness will descend there. Then Ashirvad. Ashirvad means that blessings. So Rupa Goswami gives Ashirvad to who? To all of us. Yes. He says all these people who are going to study this book systematically, Nectar of Devotion, what is the benediction?
Free from impersonalism.
They will be free from the misconceptions of impersonalism and attain to the loving devotional service of Lord Krishna. So he is giving us these blessings. Then we saw the book's contents. Book has got Eastern Ocean, Western Ocean, Southern and Northern. We are only going to study the Eastern Ocean as a part of this course. Okay? And in Eastern Ocean, we saw the first wave, second wave, third wave and fourth wave. There are 4 waves. The first wave is Samanya Bhakti, the second wave is Sadhana Bhakti, third wave is Bhava Bhakti and fourth wave is Prema Bhakti. Okay. And what is it that we are going to be discussing? We are going to be discussing, for much of this course, we are going to be discussing Sadhana Bhakti. Most of the chapters from Sadhana Bhakti we will do. We will have a smattering of Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. Last 3 chapters. Okay. Then, in the last class, we started discussing what is the authoritative definition of pure devotional service. Bhakti, what is pure bhakti? So I'm sure all of you are by-hearted. You had homework last week to by-heart and come. So who has by-hearted? How many people know the verse? What is pure bhakti? Only one person. Okay, many people know. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena Krishna anu silanam bhakti brahman. And now we started to dissect that particular verse in the last class. Okay. As a part of dissecting, so what is pure devotional service? Pure devotional service is what? Anya abhilasha. Abhilasha means what? Desire. Anya means some other desire other than desire to please Lord Krishna. Anya abhilashita shunyam means what? 0. So I have no other desires. I have 0 desires. My only desire is to please Lord Krishna. So that is the first aspect. That is one aspect of pure bhakti. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Jnana karma adi anavritam means what? Pure devotional service is does not include philosophical speculation. The pursuit of philosophical speculation is not a symptom of pure devotional service. Jnana. Nor the pursuit of fruitive activities. So devotees don't just try to, okay, let me study Bhagavad Gita all shlokas with translations so that I can sound very scholarly in a class. That is called as what? Too much attraction for jnana. Okay. Whereas devotees study Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and by heart the shlokas so that we can go out and give this message to other people. Right? And that is a service to Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that person who preaches the message of Krishna consciousness is most dear to me. So in order to develop that skill, in order to develop that knowledge, then we study these courses. Okay, so then we can go out and confidently present this philosophy and nobody can refute this philosophy because it's directly coming from Lord Krishna. All other philosophies are going to be much lower, because this is the highest absolute truth. Lord Narayana himself is giving this philosophy. What can be better than that? So by studying these books, there is no question, there is no situation to which devotee will not have an answer to. Over the years, so many questions have come. Never will the scriptures be in a situation that nahi, ye to answer hai in scriptures mein. It will never happen like that. Has it ever happened? It will never happen. All questions are answered by the scriptures. It gives us complete clarity of thinking. So, but that jnana which we develop not for the service of Krishna, but just to sound very knowledgeable or to defeat someone in a debate, so that our pride goes up, right? So that we get recognized. So that is not pure bhakti. That is called as jnana. That is that jnana. Or that jnana which leads us to the conclusion of impersonalism. That aap bhi Bhagavan ho, main bhi Bhagavan ho, everybody is God. No, that is not accept. That is not pure bhakti. Karma means what? Fruitive activities. Developing bhakti. Bhakti has got nothing to do with fruitive activities. Fruitive activities, why do you do? For example, I will worship Uma Devi so that I get nice husband. I told you, no? We used to do that, Yamuna Lila used to do that. Jaya Parvati, they used to call him Gujarati. मैं बोला क्या करते हो भाई? रात पूरा जागरण करते हैं हम लोग. बोला अच्छा क्या करते हो जागरण करके? नहीं कुछ नहीं. Then I found out. Went to the house. They were watching the movie. What is that? They were watching the Deewana movie ना शाहरुख खान का. वो देख रहे थे बैठ के. मैं बोला ये जागरण है क्या? This is very easy जागरण. Lord Shiva के ऊपर meditate करना है. तो it is going to be 5 मिनट में सो जाएगा आदमी. Right? But if you want to watch Shahrukh Khan movie, then what? 3 movies हो गया जागरण. सवेरे उठा. शिवरात्रि. That is not the mode of jagaran. This is not jagaran. This is trying to stay away by somehow trying to forget Lord Shiva. Because the moment you think of him, you may fall asleep. But Shah Rukh Khan is very attractive. So we can watch movie after movie. 3 movies, hit movie देख लिया, रात को जागरण हो गया. And सवेरे then everybody will break the fast and all that. So anyway, fruitive activities are also not performed properly in Kali Yuga. Anyway, fruitive activities भी हम बराबर नहीं करते. So it is a very advanced stage that somebody is doing fruitive activities properly, following the vidhi. वो भी नहीं होता आजकल. But doing karma kand just to attain heavenly planets or more wealth, or many times people will say काला हस्ती जाके काल सर्प का दोष निकाल देते हैं. बेचारे को promotion ही नहीं मिला बहुत साल से. So all these thoughts have got nothing to do with bhakti. Bhakti means, my dear Lord, I have no other desire but to be servant of your servant. My whole existence is for your pleasure. So whatever you want, may that happen with me. That is the definition of pure bhakti. It is unalloyed. Alloy means what? In metallurgy, what is alloy? Alloy means one metal is colored with some other mixture. So it's not unalloyed, means there is no mixture. Sab nikal diya, pure, in the pure pristine form of bhakti. So that is Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Anukulyena Krishna Anu Siddhanam Bhakti Rutam. So we are going to see all those things. So last week we dissected the word and just concentrated on Krishna. Do you remember?
Yes.
Anyavrita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anu Siddhanam Bhakti Rutam. So we just focused on one part of the word, which is Krishna. Correct? So what did we discuss? Anyone remembers? Bhakti is for Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna only. You cannot say, my Ganesh ji ka bahut bada bhakt hu. Usually what happens, I also used to say, my Ganesh ji ka bahut bada bhakt hu. I was big bhakt of Ganesh. But when did I used to worship Lord Ganesh? Before the SSC results, 12th standard results, engineering admission. There is one Prabhadevi temple in Bombay. You stand in the queue, पहले दिन 2 बजे से खड़े रहते हैं नारियल लेके 10 रुपए का. Okay, and then you go and do this and then you worship भगवान कुछ बेड़ा पार कर दे यार. ATKT नहीं लगना चाहिए यूनिवर्सिटी में. You know what is ATKT? Allowed to keep term. We can keep on postponing your subject. सब बॉम्बे के लोग हंस रहे हैं. Okay, so that I don't accumulate my subjects over the next semester. So if you see, maximum queue happens before the results or election. So that is what it is. So Lord Ganesh Devata, if you are approaching, so we used to say Ganesh Bhakt. That is not bhakti at all, first of all. Really, if somebody, that rare soul who is Ganesh Bhakt, the first thing he will know is who scripted Srimad Bhagavatam? Lord Ganesh. So the first thing, if he is a Ganesh Bhakt, what he will do? He will read what Lord Ganesh has scripted and will come to the feet of Lord Krishna. Right? So that is Ganesh Bhakt. We can still call that person, but such a person is not to be found anywhere. You ask everybody in the queue, Srimad Bhagavatam किसने लिखा पता है? Nobody will know. Right? But they will do that. What is that? Visarjan and all that. People will participate in all those things. They will raise money. So all kinds of nonsense is going on in the name of bhakti. So none of that is bhakti. None of that. Bhakti can only be for Lord Krishna. And all the Devi Devatas themselves are devotees of Lord Krishna. And they are also directing us to Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita we saw that if someone approaches a demigod, a devata, then the demigod will slowly direct them to the feet of Lord Krishna. You had a question?
Prabhu, sorry. How do we understand that, the bhakti towards, Lord Rama? I know, like, our family was always Lord Rama and Bhakt.
Okay. I answered that in the last class. Were you there?
Prabhu, there was a miscommunication. I thought there was no class last
so
time.
you have not heard the YouTube class.
No.
If you would have heard it, you wouldn't have asked this question. Okay, we answered this question. A good question. And this is a very good question because in this sequence only Prabhupada is also writing the books. He is able to understand that these kind of questions will come. So he says, Bhakti is not, when you say Lord Krishna, what did we say?
Krishna
It includes Lord Krishna's plenary part and parcels. Okay. Which includes Lord Balram,
Incarnation.
Narayana, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, second Chaturvyuha, Mahavishnu, all these people are included. Is it clear? And who is Lord Ram? Just two. Lord Krishna expands as Balram. Balram expands as four Chaturvyuha. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. This Sankarshan again expands as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. This is the first set of Chaturvyuha. This is the second set of Chaturvyuha. Then this Sankarshan expands as Mahavishnu, who lies on the causal ocean. We have seen all that, right? So, who is Lord Ram? Lord Ram comes from this Vasudev. So, he is also included. Okay. Now, Bhakti not only includes that, but it includes the differentiated part and parcels also. This includes people who are devotees of Lord Krishna. So we have to develop love not only for Lord Krishna, but we have to develop love for devotees of Lord Krishna. Because who gives, if we only worship Lord Krishna, then what happens? Then we are trying to enter Vaikuntha spiritual world through merit quota. So we all have to go through, most of that is me, I can tell you. Okay. I'm not telling on behalf of you, but generally mercy quota. Now for mercy quota, we need mercy of Vaishnavas. So unless we love devotees of the Lord, then we will not get mercy. Love means again what? Oh, I love Prabhupada. Service. That's why we do service. So therefore we have to understand Srila Prabhupada's mood and align our activities in deference to that mood. And what is Srila Prabhupada's mood? To spread Krishna Bhakti. That's what we are trying to do in Manipur. Right? So that is why we are preaching. We are not preaching because we have some halo over our head. Kuch Buddha ka circle ghum raha hai. No, we are normal people, but we are trying to give this message so that we are getting through the mercy quota of Srila Prabhupada, because we are trying to serve him, because his desire was to spread the message of Krishna consciousness all over the world, and we are becoming a small instrument, trying to be a small instrument in that. Okay, so bhakti is only for Krishna. That's why the word Krishna is very important.
Differentiated energies also.
Yeah, and differentiated energies also. So bhakti is for Krishna includes what? His plenary portions, his differentiated portions, and his differentiated energies, which is the spiritual world and the material world. And that also we saw. Should we love the material world? Yes. We don't hate anything at all. Why? Because it is Krishna's energy at the end of the day. So that means chal bahut paisa banate hain. Krishna ka energy. I love money. So that's not the goal. So when we say we love, which means whatever that we get, whatever that is ordained by fate, whatever we get, we use it and dovetail it in Krishna's service. We don't reject anything. So if a devotee gets a bonus, for example, he says, "Toba paisa nahi chahiye." We don't talk like that. We don't say, "I don't want money." He said, "ठीक है, आने दो." But आके then we don't go to that. What is that? Crown Casino and gamble. Paisa आ गया अभी. Or we don't try to immediately upscale our lifestyle. If you see normal people, what they do, the moment they get money, what will happen? Suddenly that jeans will never be, that Eskumar t-shirt will not be there. It will be replaced with Van Heusen. Then और पैसा आ गया तो Van Heusen will be replaced with Guess jeans or something like that. Then और पैसा आ गया तो फिर Dolce and Gabbana. Right? फिर और पैसा आ गया तो then the watch will also then, what is that, Tissot and what is that, whatever, I can't even pronounce that. Go to the David Jones, you will find, all those brands. So more and more wealth means we are not satisfied with our, normal living. So we will try to upscale ourselves constantly. There is a constant. Children will only wear branded shirts. You will see. ऐसे घूमते रहेंगे. D and G लिखा होगा. This is a lifestyle. Whereas what Govind Prabhu was saying in one class, he was saying that devotees must live in induced poverty. Induced poverty means not that you roam around like bhikari. Obviously, if you go like that to office, they'll kick you. What is this? Especially in office, we have to be presentable because we are dealing with, sometimes we have to deal with top people there, right? So we have to be presentable, but we don't get attached to that. We know that we are not that. कुछ भी dress करो, हम लोग वो नहीं. At the end of the day, what are we? Spirit soul. We are servant of the Lord. We always remember that. So devotees don't try to consciously increase their opulence.
Induced sorrow.
Govind Prabhu was saying induced poverty, which means fate has not given you poverty. Fate has given you money, but you live simply. That's what he's saying. Induced poverty. So don't try to keep on chasing, increasing your lifestyle. That will take you away. So if lifestyle is here, Lord Krishna is here. The more you chase this, the more you are going away from this. So we have to simplify. Today only Yamuna Lila and I were discussing that Chiru Prabhu, when he went to US, they gave us this double bed. We never had a bed in our house for all these years in Australia. Okay, आपके घर पे रखो because I am going to US. Can you keep it in your house? So since the double bed has come, then what happens? Then Nidra. Yoga Nidra has increased. After that, laziness has come. Okay. So, if anyone wants to buy, please tell me. Double bed on sale.
On sale or free?
Free, I know, because it is his. If it was mine, I will gladly give free. So this is a simple example. When you sleep on the floor, then you can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, 5:30. And nicely, उठेगा ही नहीं आदमी. It was very cozy, too comfortable in material life. So the desire, the impetus for spiritual life will not come like that. So some amount of austerity is required in spiritual life. Okay. So bhakti can only be for Krishna or his plenary parts and parcels, his differentiated parts and parcels and differentiated energies. But this does not mean that everyone is a recipient of bhakti. And what is the Shastra Praman we gave for that? That only devotees. What is Shastra Praman? Very good. One person has heard the class and come. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Out of all the worship, then whose Aradhana is the highest? Vishnu. Vishnu or Aradhanam is Param, supreme. But higher than Vishnu's Aradhana is the devotees of Vishnu. Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam. Tadiya means what? Paraphernalia. Anything which is associated with Lord Krishna's worship. It may be an object or it may be an individual. So that which includes devotees. So anything in connection with Krishna we must love. We must develop love. By developing love for Vaishnavas, then the doors of liberation open for us. Prasanga majaram pasam atmanah kavayo viduhu sa eva sadhusho krito moksha dwaram apavritam. When we dovetail our love towards devotees, then the doors of moksha open, the doors of liberation open for us. For a person who is not a devotee, death is the end of existence. For a person who is a devotee, death is the beginning of eternal life. So that is possible only if we worship Krishna, because only Lord Krishna can award liberation. Of course, we will see other aspects of liberation when we go further down. Then anusilanam. Anyamari is the shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam. Anukulyena Krishna anusilanam. So today we will also see anusilanam. What is anusilanam? Anusilanam means cultivation. And cultivation means what? That bhakti will not, if you tell someone, for example, we do these programs called as Bhakti Vriksha. There was one gentleman in one particular Bhakti Vriksha. He came for a lecture. He attended one class where this person heard the summum bonum of Bhagavad Gita philosophy. So generally, when we go, new people are there. We give the SSR class, no? So we gave this class in that particular Bhakti Vriksha, and one person said, आज तो सब कुछ समझ में आ गया भक्ति में. Always I was thinking, ये भगवद गीता में बोलते क्या है लॉर्ड? अभी सब समझ में आ गया भक्ति में. आखिर में आप लोग वही बोलोगे ना, चैंटिंग करना है. अभी मेरे को समझ में आ गया, अभी मैं नहीं आऊँगा प्रोग्राम. It was a very new experience, new case. In 1.5 hours, the person has understood. Whereas big acharyas there are saying, what is that? Many lifetimes, my dear Lord, I have tried, but I am so fallen. Goswamis are writing, and this gentleman, उसको 1.5 hours में बुद्धा हो गया, वो भी किसी से सुन के. This is the sad part. So, Bhakti Vriksha program is a very good example of cultivation. Cultivation means what? Cultivation means engagement. Slowly, cultivation means that we give the philosophy and then we facilitate our Bhakti Vriksha members on how to apply that philosophy in their specific situation. हर मरीज का एक दवा नहीं होता है. For all patients, there is no one common medicine, right? Everyone has to be treated differently. Everyone's case is different. Everyone's motivation to do bhakti is also different. Lord Krishna himself says that in Bhagavad Gita, where he says that no, correct. Jato vidha jante mam artho arthati jigyasu jnani. Some people come to the Lord for artha. Some people come to the Lord for because they are in danger. Some people come to the Lord for money. Some people come to the Lord for out of inquisitiveness. देखते हैं क्या होता है मंदिर के अंदर, like that, out of inquisitiveness. And some people come because they are wise. Okay, so there are many people. People approach Lord Krishna with different intentions. So they have to be cultivated based on their specific situation. However, there are common principles which are there for bhakti. किसी का भी situation कुछ भी हो, गोरा हो या काला, he may be Australian, he may be Indian, he may be African, whoever, but there are certain standards which are there. That is common for everyone. Okay, what are those standards? 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. In one program we were doing, one Bengali man was there. He is saying that आपको तो पता है हम तो Bengali है, we have to eat fish. He was saying fish. So he is saying that this is our staple diet, just like we eat sambar every day. अभी उसको वो problem है अभी. Thankfully Prabhupada said sambar is allowed. So you can imagine what would have happened to us. So when you give the regulative principle, immediately we should not jump on that person. Fish खाता है? Not like that. Otherwise that fellow will run away. बोलते fish खाते हो? अच्छा. So just hear, and then in the class, then you tell, no meat eating, no illicit, don't tell that person directly. Then you have to tell in a classroom. Then we sit and give general instructions. Okay. Then slowly what will happen? You tell the person fish खा रहे हो? खाओ, कुछ नहीं, no problem. Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. खाओ, जितना fish खाने का खाओ. Because when the Lord's name is on the tongue, then the tongue will lose taste for inferior things. Param drishtva nivartante. The tongue will get a higher taste. The consciousness itself will get a higher taste. So therefore, this is called as what? Cultivation. So we don't unleash all the philosophy down their throats and condemn them to hell for whatever they are. Nobody will come to the program if you do that. So we have to accept people at what stage they are in bhakti and then connect with them at their level. Okay, that is called as cultivation, and that is Anusilana. Somebody connected with us also like that, no? Right? when I was in Japan, I used to give all kinds of excuses. Barish hai, biwi bimar hai, usual stuff, all the goli I used to do. Then the devotees also knew, ye bhi usko barabar karte hain. So they said that, okay, you can't come, I understand, आप तो बहुत busy हो यार. हम आ जाएंगे ना आपके घर पे. So they came to my house. Then Yamuna said, ये क्या है बेशरम लोग, शर्म ही नहीं है घर में. Actually, he took Boria Bistar and Sanjay Krishna Chandra Prabhu came to my house with his wife. He said, तुमको एक साल से बता रहा हूँ तुम आता नहीं. Every week some goli you are giving. So I am coming to your house, like that. So they were so merciful, so merciful. When I see that I received that mercy, then what do you want to do? Then you become very tolerant with people automatically, right? Because somebody tolerated me, so why I can't tolerate someone? So we have to be tolerant when it comes to cultivating people. Results will not come fast. People will not come directly to 16 rounds. Did we come to 16 rounds? No. But we expect others will, right? So cultivation has to be very systematic, but there has to be cultivation. So cultivation itself means systematic. Otherwise it's not cultivation. So Bhakti, the difference between this program, what we are doing now, Bhakti Shastri, this is the knowledge-based program. This is not cultivation program. So here we give only knowledge, right? This is more like a teaching and education program. But a Bhakti Vriksha is not teaching and education. A Bhakti Vriksha is facilitation, systematic cultivation, like that. So there are two types of activities, Pravritti and Nivritti. Pravritti means things that have to be followed, and Nivritti means activities that must be avoided. What are the activities that need to be followed? Chanting the holy name, there is no substitute for that. Never do we tell in the Bhakti Vriksha programs, नहीं chant नहीं करेगा तो भी चलेगा यार. यतो मत ततो पत, जो आपके मन में करो वो follow करो. So all roads lead to Rome. All roads don't lead to Rome. Bank Street doesn't lead to Rome. It doesn't lead. So anything which rhymes need not be the truth. Right? So in cultivation, so the only thing which we don't compromise on, we still encourage people to chant. It doesn't matter that they are struggling to follow the four regulatory principles. So chanting is pravritti, and nivritti means four regulatory principles. Nivritti means avoid meat eating, intoxication. So that is. Then the next aspect after Anusilanam is Krishna Anusilanam we saw, right? The next aspect is Anukulyena. Now please understand, there's a very nice point, Shastric point that is coming here. Anukul means what? Favorable. Which is very pleasing. If you go to India, the trains, it will written Vatanukul. It will be written. Anyone knows what it means? Air conditioned coach. What is that? Bombay Bangalore Express. Vatanukul, it will be written there. Anukul means what? The Vatavaran is very favorable. Of course, in the compartment to sleep. Correct? So this Anukul is not that. This Anukul means whatever activities we do are very pleasing to who? Krishna. So devotional service has to be done with a favorable intention. Hold on, 1 minute, we'll come back to it. Devotional service has to be done with favorable intention. For example, Shishupal. Shishupal was constantly meditating on Lord Krishna. Okay, let's forget about Shishupal. Let's take another common example. Kamsa was always meditating on Krishna. Correct or no? Kamsa was always meditating. Because why? Because that Akashvani had said that one day Lord Krishna will, the 8th son, no? Yes. 8th son of Devaki will kill you. So suppose someone tells you, for example, one man with a blue jacket will kill you very soon. So you will be always meditating on the man with blue jacket. Kahan hai bhai? Jacket blue to nahi hai, no? So we are always meditating on that. So Kamsa knew that this person is going to kill. So he is always thinking of Krishna. And what does Lord Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? If you always think of me, you will attain my destination. So will Kamsa attain Vaikuntha Loka? No. Correct, no? Though he is always thinking of the Lord, he is not going to attain the same destination as a devotee who is always thinking of the Lord. Okay? So therefore, Rupa Goswami has clarified that point by saying our devotional service must be with a favorable intention. Our meditation on Lord Krishna must be such that it is pleasing to Lord Krishna. That is one aspect. Okay? But Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj is bringing another aspect, which is also Rupa Goswami is also bringing it in Nectar of Devotion. He says, what if you do an activity which actually was not intended to please Krishna, but accidentally ended up pleasing him? What if you do an activity which was not intended at pleasing Krishna, but incidentally ended up pleasing him? Is it called as anukulya?
No, but because your intention, your mind, your thoughts are not.
Yes or no? Okay. So one view is no.
No.
Yes. How many people say yes? Please raise your hand. Okay. The answer is yes.
No.
Favorable intention. That is what is called as anukulya. Not incidentally favorable. Does it make sense?
That's what he is saying, right?
No. Favorable intention. Not intentional, not incidentally favorable.
She was in the second category. Putna, was she not in the second category? Incidentally, she was favorable.
So Putana is in the second category and Mother Yashoda is in the first category, right?
Correct.
If she is trying to chastise, apparently Krishna is being...
We are not talking about Leela right now. We are talking about Tattva. There is a difference between Tattva and Leela. We are talking about the realm of Tattva. Our discussion is happening on Tattva right now. Tattva means what? The philosophy. Leela mein kuch bhi hota hai. That's a different thing. But Leela mein there are exceptions. Putana was awarded the position of mother, though she tried to put poison in her breast and feed Lord Krishna. So definitely her intention was not favorable, but incidentally. So I'll tell you why you are asking me this question. Why you are asking this question is because the Lord rewarded, or the Lord rewarded that person, Putana. That's why you are thinking that maybe it was favorable.
I have the same
No.
question for Kamsa as well.
It is not. It is not called bhakti. Whatever Putana did was not called as bhakti. But the Lord is above all rules. He can make any exception. You have not approached him with bhakti, but still he can award you spiritual word. There is nothing that he can't do. He can change the rules of the game for anyone. Right? But for common man, what is required? Bhakti means that we must have favorable intention. Not that we have ended up incidentally pleasing him, though our intention was not to please him. That is why the Lord is called as Bhavagrahi Janardhana. What do you mean by Bhavagrahi? He only sees our mood, intention. For example, Vidura's wife, when the Lord visited, what was she feeding the Lord? Kela ka chilka, banana peels. She was looking at the Lord, at his beautiful face, and she was peeling the banana, and then she was throwing the banana away and she was feeding the Lord. And the Lord was eating it. He says, wow, this is so good. Why? Because the Lord is, if someone gives me banana peels, what do I do? Next time, barabar se service kar aaya. Peel mat khilao. Correct? For us, our tongue is very important. Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardhana. He accepts the mood. Even namak kam bhi hoga to, but the intention was, during the cooking, you are completely absorbed in Krishna, then he will accept that mood. Now, another example, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj gives a beautiful example. He says, what about Mother Yashoda? Mother Yashoda actually is, what is that? Namami Shwaram Sachidananda Rupam. We are doing now. She is running with a whipping stick, and the Lord rubbed his eyes in fear, and then he is running. So what is that? That's bhakti or no?
Yes.
Why? Because the outcome was that the Lord is in fear, but what was her intention? It was a favorable intention. She really wanted to chastise her Lala. Correct? That is her mood. It's completely motherly affection. So the intention is favorable. When the mother slaps the child, then the intention is not, it's not similar to the police, doing third degree. Correct? Correct, no? There is love here. That is missing there. So we have to understand. So anukulyana means favorable intention, not intentionally favorable. No, not incidentally favorable. Yes. So you had one minute. You had a question.
I have a question. In the Anushilana, did we cover that aspect of surrendering to spiritual master? Dhanurjay Maharaj covers in his notes. Anushilana means also following the spiritual Anushilana. That's what I was asking. I think last time we didn't cover that. Right?
We covered that.
We covered it and we said you should please the devotees.
Correct.
By ending saying that pleasing the devotees.
In fact, I also said that in the last class, I remember, he said that devotional energy or inspiration for bhakti originates from Lord Krishna through the parampara.
Flow down through the internal energy.
So we discussed that point. So again, please hear the class. There are lots of points coming across in Nectar of Devotion. So you have to hear, meditate, make notes like that. Then you will remember whatever we are discussing. That's why I am recapping again and again. It's a nice flow. Okay, Prabhu, sorry, you had a question.
What happens in the second case when something happens incidental favorably? Does the person get any benefit of the second chance?
Definitely. That's why I am saying. Pure bhakti is not defined by the reward or the absence of reward. Does it make sense? Same answer I gave to that question also. Incidentally, when it pleased the Lord, the response of the Lord is to reward that person. Right? But because the Lord has rewarded, that doesn't mean that the intention was favorable. That's why you have to be very clear. So favorable intention is anukulya. Always our intention should be for the pleasure of the Lord.
So within the strict definition, only favorable intention will come.
Pardon?
So within the strict definition of bhakti, only favorable intention will come.
Correct. Clear this point? Yeah.
So we understand bhakti, and in the case of Kamsa, since we understand that he is not doing bhakti, but still he was meditating it. So will his destination still not be the same as
Kamsa's destination? No. See, again we are talking about Leela. Okay, but I can tell you, Shishupal, when Shishupal was given a benediction that he can insult the Lord
100 times, 99,
100 times, but when it happened, then what happened? The Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti of the soul, it went and merged into the Lord's body. And that is called as Sayujya Mukti. We will come to the different types of Mukti. Okay? But when we discuss the 6 characteristics of devotional service, today also I wanted to start the first characteristic. If time permits, I'll start that. But your specific point we'll discuss in the next class.
Okay, at least for the practical purpose, in the ground reality, if people are not doing bhakti and but somehow they constantly chastise or in some way they think about Krishna, what will happen to them?
If the intention is not favorable, then that is not called as bhakti.
They are not doing bhakti, but what will happen to them?
What will happen is what?
In the sense, where will they land?
Depends on other things what they do. If I'm drinking and I'm going and I'm yelling at the Lord, what do you think will happen?
Okay.
That is not bhakti.
One question, how do we know which one is Leela, for example, Ravan, for example, how...
Leela.
Because he was cursed, Jai Vijay was
How you know what is
cursed.
Leela? Is because Leelas are performed by Leela avatars. It always, Leelas comes as a story, as a part of a specific avatar of the Lord comes and he does that particular Leela. For example, tomorrow if I end up doing something abominable, I cannot say it is Leela of the Lord. Everyone knows that. Correct? I have a lot of responsibility for that. Correct? But many people say like this. Many people say like this. So Anukulena means executed with favorable intention. Okay. So these aspects which we saw, which is Krishna, Anusilanam and Anukulena, they come under what is called as the primary characteristics of pure bhakti. Okay. So what was the verse? Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Number 1. Jnana Karmadi Anavrata. Okay. Third was Anukulena Krishna Anusilana. And then Bhakti Uttama. This is the definition of pure bhakti. So what I am saying is now that Krishna and Anusilana, aka Anukulena Krishna Anusilana, this is called as the primary characteristic of bhakti. Or it is called as the Swarupa, it is called as the Swarupa Lakshana. Primary characteristic of bhakti. Is it clear? Clear? Swarupa Lakshana of bhakti. Primary characteristic of pure devotion. इसके बगैर pure devotion हो ही नहीं सकता. And then the next aspect, obviously, primary के बाद which other characteristic will come? Very good. How did you guess that? Secondary characteristics. Secondary characteristics is what? Anya Abhilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam means what? Freedom from ulterior motives. That is Anya Abhilashita. Now, see the word. The word is what? Anya Abhilashita. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Correct? Now, Rupa Goswami could have as well written this verse as Anya Abhilasha Shunyam. Abhilasha means what? Material desires. He could have said Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Why is he saying Anya Abhilashita Shunyam?
Including everything.
Anyone knows? Yes, bro.
Gita is some exceptions are there. For example, when we are dying or something, when we can pray to the Lord. So those exceptions are in
Very good. You have heard Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj's seminar and talk. That's why. Very good. Okay. Yes. Anyone? Everyone heard him? So, our desire for self-preservation is not under the category of a material desire. For example, suddenly you are meditating and suddenly one tiger is standing in front of you with its jaws wide open, and then immediately you are playing, oh Lord Narayana, please save me. So Lord Narayana is thinking, oh, material desire, huh? He doesn't think like that. Correct? Whereas if you say, oh Lord Narayana, I want to develop 6-pack muscles. What is it? 6-pack, 12-pack, whatever. That is not required for survival. Right? Or I want to look like Amitabh Bachchan. If you pray like that, can you please make me look like some superstar? Then that is an explicit material desire. That's not preservation of the body. Right? Whereas this is purely for self-preservation. You are in danger, there is a calamity that has come, and then immediately Draupadi also did that, no? There was a calamity, so she raised her hands because they were disrobing her. So she raised her hands and prayed, called out to Lord Krishna in that calamity. So in a calamity for self-preservation, if you are calling out to the Lord, that doesn't constitute material desire. Does that make sense? That is why Rupa Goswami said Anya Abhilashita and not Anya Abhilasha. Everyone is clear with this? Yeah?
So
when you say desire for self-preservation, any activity that will actually preserve the spiritual life, that can be any activity that can preserve a spiritual life, that can be a self-preservation?
No. That is bhakti only. Suppose I am praying to the Lord, oh my dear Lord, please ensure that lust does not attack my heart. Suppose you are praying like that. Is that not bhakti? It is bhakti. Because such a prayer has got a favorable intention. Because with a lusty heart, we are not going to please the Lord. Right? So when we pray to the Lord that please remove my lust and replace it with your bhakti, that means it's very pleasing to the Lord. So it is bhakti. So this situation only comes when there is a grey area, when there is a contentious issue, where you don't know black hair or white hair. No? There are shades of grey. So there you can use this principle. That is it for self-preservation that I called out? Because it's clearly pertaining to the body. It's pertaining to the maintenance of the body. So in that case, it is not considered as a material desire. Is it clear?
Or in any case, when you pray that, okay, I want to be in Nirvan because spiritual life is better over here. So are you coming here?
Practically.
Good question.
Yes, practically. I was about this.
Okay, let's throw this question open to all of you. Oh my dear Lord, please keep me in Melbourne because my devotional life is very good here. Is that bhakti or not?
Yes, because the intention is.
Is it pure bhakti?
No.
Pure bhakti means what? Tell me a verse. Okay, I am giving you the clue. Sikshashtakam, last verse. Aslisyava padaratam pinastumam adarshanan marma hatam karotva yatha tatha va vidadatu lampato mat prananatha suevana paraha. Oh my dear Lord, you may treat me anyway. You may not be present before me even when I call out to you. You may just ignore me, right? Or you may handle me roughly by your embrace. But my dear Lord, I am your servant, life after life. That is called as pure bhakti. Bhakti should not be conditional. It's not that only Lord, my dear Lord, please preserve my job, please preserve my bank balance, please preserve my house, may the real estate prices after I buy a house only go up. Then, may I have very good health, may all my relatives also have very good health. May there be no problems, my dear Lord, in such a condition. Oh, my dear Lord, please accept my humble obeisances. If you disturb my situation, then maybe I'll think twice about surrendering to you. That is not bhakti. That is not bhakti. That is not bhakti. That is not pure bhakti. So this is called as the example where you said that, oh my dear Lord, please, this boss is troubling me, for example, or please let me keep me in Melbourne. This is almost, you can call it as sakama bhakti. It is bhakti, but it is called bhakti which is mixed with काम. काम means what? Material desire. But thoda bhakti bhi hai, thoda material desire bhi hai. And most of us are in that situation stage today in life. थोड़ा भक्ति भी अच्छा लगता है, थोड़ा movies भी अच्छा लगता है, like that. Correct? Or sense gratification. I'm not saying movies because maybe devotees don't watch movies, but still some sense gratification we also like. We are not pure. And that is the difference between Devatas and Goswamis or Paramahamsas. The demigods, the Devatas like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, they are also what? Bhaktas. Pure Bhaktas? No. The demigods are also Sakama Bhaktas. That is why you will find many times in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you may find that Lord Indra is trying to steal the horse. The moment, Prithu Maharaj is trying to complete 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas, because he knows that 100 Ashwamedha Yagya khatam kiya, so he will take my kurchi.
Yes.
So Indra is also worried about his. So what is that called? That is pure bhakti? No. So there is a desire for preservation of one's own chair, one's own prestige. Okay? So that doesn't come under pure bhakti.
So about medical conditions or disease like so will that come under self-preservation?
If someone has a medical condition and we are praying to the Lord, is that pure bhakti or no? No. Is that, rather, will it be called as Sakama Bhakti? For example, when Prabhupada was there on the planet, Prabhupada had a lot of ill health. So devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, can we pray that you are there, because if you leave us, what will happen to all of us? So can we pray to the Lord to somehow, get rid of, so that He removes your illness or He gives you a longer life? So what Srila Prabhupada said?
Pray and it is His wish to.
Correct. So the prayer must be that, my dear Lord, it is our desire that this person recovers in his health. If you also so desire, may you make it possible. So if we pray like that, then that's the way we pray.
You gave the example of like if the tiger comes suddenly in front of you, for the self-preservation you are crying out.
We will usually not pray like that. If you also so desire, then the tiger may not be.
No.
We will say, oh, let your tiger go out. I understand. That is a natural thing. But that is not bhakti.
No, true. I'm trying to understand. So to understand that praying for the devotees, like in that way. But what about praying for yourself, because if some medical conditions or something.
Yes, you can.
So
pray.
you can pray. Is that come still under self-preservation?
Yeah. So if you say that, oh my dear Lord, please don't take me away right now. Let me at least pay my mortgage so that my family is not then suffering. Then that is what. It has got nothing to do with bhakti. Whereas if you say, oh my dear Lord, I am still not ready. In this lifetime, I still want to do more preaching for you. I have still not completed my responsibilities. I am still full of lust, anger, envy, greed, pride. Please give me some more time so that I will do serious sadhana. Then that is not. So it is what is going on inside the heart. So yesterday also I was telling someone, bhakti is inside the heart. Bhakti is not what goes on outside. You may say so many things, but with what intention are we saying? What is our desire? Do we have the right desires within our heart? That is what, and Lord Krishna is very quick to know that. Why are we doing something that we are doing? Because He is Paramatma inside everyone's heart. So He knows what is our, every thought He knows.
Could we quote the example that Prabhupada initially when he had a heart attack in the US, he asked the disciples to pray for nursing because he said it's too early and I have to do so much work.
Yeah. That is not bhakti. Okay, so Anya Avilasa Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. That is also Tatastha Lakshana. The secondary characteristics are also called as, in Sanskrit it's called as Tatastha Lakshana. Swarupa Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. Krishna Anusilanam and Anukulena came under primary characteristics or Swarupa Lakshana. And all other aspects are coming under Tatastha Lakshana. So the last aspect of Tatastha Lakshana is what? Not covered by philosophy or fruitive activities, which we discussed to some extent. Not covered by Jnana and not covered by Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Which means our philosophical interests must not become more prominent than our spiritual interest. Our philosophical interest must not become more prominent than our spiritual interest. And it can happen. It can happen. For example, I told this example also before, that when I was in Japan, then we had this Gita Jayanti, in Tokyo. I told this example before, no? No? I never said this?
I haven't heard.
Yeah. So when we were invited to Gita Jayanti, and that time I was very new in Krishna consciousness. This was 2001. So, but I told the devotees are always encouraging me. Arey aao mandir mein. So one day they told me that Gita Jayanti hai, aa jao. Bhagavad Gita we are going to discuss. Because Gita Jayanti is the day, it comes in December. It's the day on which Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So to commemorate that, they had a celebration. Now it was not an ISKCON program. So many people were there. So when we went to the program, it was one small first floor apartment, or a first floor hall, somewhere in Tokyo. So I went there along with all the devotees. And I was new, so obviously I told Prabhu, don't ask me any question, I don't know any Bhagavad Gita. I was very scared. They'll ask me to speak something. Thankfully they were merciful. So after I got the assurance, then I agreed to go with them. And then what we saw was that there was a long hall like this, and on top of, in the corner there was one chair, and there was one Bhagavad Gita book there. and उसको एक garland बना के रखा था, and there was some kumkum and whatever put there, and then one fellow was doing, what is that? Agarbatti to that. So they were chanting something, they stole some sotra, mantra, tantra, whatever they did, and after that everyone sat down, and then they introduced the organizer of the program. Another person introduced this person, saying that this is Mr. So and so. He has studied Bhagavad Gita, he knows all the verses of Bhagavad Gita, front to back. Very knowledgeable person. इन्होंने संस्कृत में भी अव्वल नंबर प्राप्त किए हैं, blah 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 blah. Okay, and that person also very proudly came, and he started speaking in Shuddha Hindi mixed with Sanskrit. Very affected conversation. So then that went on for half an hour, and our devotee Krishna Chandra, Sanjay Krishna Chandra Prabhu, he couldn't tolerate after some time. So, but fortunately that fellow ended his whatever. Most of the time he was talking about himself. And then Krishna Chandra Prabhu's turn came. So they asked him, Prabhuji, aap bhi kuch boliye. And he started, like a lion he was talking. He said, if we are becoming very proud just because we know few Sanskrit verses and we can talk something on Bhagavad Gita, then that is not understanding. Then we have not understood Bhagavad Gita at the end of the day. Because knowledge ultimately should lead to humility, not pride. Right? Knowledge must not boost our ego. It must actually reduce. The more and more we learn, the more and more we feel that we are a fool. Okay? And that will only happen when we learn more. Right? When we learn less, do we think we are fool? No. When we learn more, only we know that how much we don't know. And we are now knowing. Like that. Otherwise, initially everyone thinks that I am very knowledgeable. Like this person, after one class, he said that I will not come for the Bhakti Vriksha program anymore. What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Such people will not go anywhere. So, the philosophical interests must not have a preponderance over Bhakti. It's always subordinate to Bhakti. So, we should always remember that. Because too much of knowledge will cover our devotional attitude. Does it make sense? So, Prabhupada also said, don't read too many books. What Prabhupada said? Just read my books. Bhagavad Gita, Isopanishad, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. And then what is that course called as? Bhakti Shastri course, which is what we are all doing here. Right? After Bhakti Shastri, what do? We do what is called as Bhakti Vaibhav course, which is Canto 1 to Canto 6 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we do Bhakti Vedanta course, which is what we are studying with Keshav Prabhu. 7th Canto to 12th Canto. And then finally we will study Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Bhakti Sarvabhauma. Prabhupada has said no need to read any more books. If we study Prabhupada's books carefully, that is good enough for us to go back to Godhead in this very lifetime. There is nothing more that is needed to be known. But again, just reading Srila Prabhupada's books and continuing our lifestyle the way we are, again that is not going to yield results. Because as you remember the aims of Shastric study, knowledge, understanding. When we study something, we must develop knowledge, but knowledge itself is not enough. We must develop understanding. But that understanding should lead to personal application. And then it must also lead to preaching application. We apply it in our lives and then we share that experiences with others. So, otherwise jnana is simply useless. Right? Even Shankaracharya said, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati, Dukharan Karane. This is the first verse of that Bhaja Govindam song. So at the time of death, the rules of Sanskrit and grammar is not going to save you. What is only going to save you is inside your heart, what love you have developed, what character we have developed. That is what is going to save us, not externals. So philosophical interest must not become more prominent than concentration on bhakti. However, it doesn't mean we shun philosophy. No, I am not going to read any books. That philosophy which takes you towards Lord Krishna is always bhakti. That doesn't come under the category of jnana. That jnana actually comes under the category of bhakti. So when we are reading these books and dissecting these verses and studying here, it is not jnana, it is still bhakti. Because that jnana is leading us to Lord Krishna. And any activity which leads us to Lord Krishna is called as yoga, connecting. Yoga comes from the word yuj. Yuj means to connect to Lord Krishna. So it is still Bhakti Yoga only. In Bhakti Yoga, Jnana is a component. Jnana Yoga is a component in Bhakti Yoga. Okay, I'll just end in another 1 minute. Now, the final part is what? The karma. As I mentioned before, we can engage in ordinary social activities or religious activities, but such engagements must not overshadow our hearing and chanting. For example, if your relatives invite you that there is a marriage ceremony, let's say it's your brother's wedding. You are a devotee, your brother is not a devotee. Will you abstain from going for the marriage? No, you are a non-devotee. You will be burnt in the oil of, what is it? So therefore, I am shunning you. Is that the approach we take? No. Okay. But it doesn't mean that we go to our brothers and बोला भारत में बहुत नाचा है यार, क्या बॉलीवुड का गाना था. You know, we don't go to that extreme also, right? Or if in the brother's marriage if whiskey is being served, then we say no, it's all, you know, because after all I have to maintain relationship, you know. So therefore, thoda little bit chalega. It doesn't work like that.
No.
So we don't go out of the way to maintain relationships, losing our standards of Krishna consciousness. Okay. So as long, but we go and we associate in such a way that we are giving them Krishna consciousness, but we are protected always. Remember the airline example. जब विमान गए हो, जब प्लेन का प्रेशर कम हो जाए तो कृपया अपने मुख पे लगाएं, फिर बच्चे के मुख पे लगाएं. That this thing comes, no, in the aircraft when you are flying. So first we have to put the oxygen mask in our face, and then only we can go out to save the world. So in saving the world, we should also not get drowned along with them. So devotees do participate in social activities, but don't get too contaminated. For example, tomorrow we are going to play cricket. So for encouraging people, Prabhupada said, okay, sports is okay, but not frivolous sports. So we do sports. Okay, so we have cricket going on, where all the devotees play like that. But that is not a goal of life, right? So lot of boys come. So Devamrit Maharaj also said, get all these boys together, play together, because people will take time to come to the platform where no longer, sports or cinema attract them. In the initial stages, we'll always have one leg there and one leg here. So till the time that leg is not completely taken out and comes here, till the time they have to be facilitated slowly. So then we play. And anyway, sports is also good. It will keep them occupied when they are not doing devotional service. When Fizul ka waqt is there, when there is time to waste, then what do people engage in? Illicit sex. Correct? So devotees pack their day in such a way that we don't have time for illicit activities. So always we are either doing our official duty or household duties, or we are doing preaching or our devotional services. So pack the day in such a way that there is no other time for sense gratification. Because the moment we give time, more time we give for sense gratification, we are getting bound in the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death. Okay. So Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. We will discuss little bit more on karma part in the next class, the first 5 minutes, and then we will go to a very interesting section which I actually wanted to cover today, but next class, which is the 6 characteristics of bhakti. And the first characteristic of bhakti is what? Klesha Agni. And that gives answer to a very common question: why do bad things happen to good people? So we will see that in the next class. Prabhupada ki